All right. All right, good morning. I'll call the meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Carver Select Board for Friday, July 22nd, 2022. This meeting is being cablecast by Area 58 Community Access Media, Channel 15, and will be posted by Area 58 on YouTube as soon as possible. There are openings on several committees. Please refer to the Select Board page on our website for a listing and application. If we could all stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Carter, could you read our community prayer?
Sure. Almighty God, humbly we pray your blessing as we concern our life with the opportunity to serve our community. Enhance us with your spirit of dignity and selflessness. May we become instruments of support and understanding as we seek to bring an environment of trust and purpose among all who provide the many services that make us all that we can become. Help us achieve the goals of our commitment in this office that is now our responsibility. And especially, we lift our prayers for all the citizens of our community that we have been allowed to serve, that they may discover the fullness and joy of life that we all seek. And keep those serving in our armed forces and our first responders in our hearts and thoughts. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Carter. All right, the first item on our agenda this morning is citizens' participation. Are there, Mr. Belvin? Welcome back, Mr. Belvin.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I'll try to be really quick. The posting that you guys had for your last one, I don't think it was complete enough. Because it was an emergency meeting, and I understand emergency meetings happen, with this one, I think that the information from Senator Pete Chico's office should have been posted with the actual agenda item. That way the public could really see and hear, understand what you guys were talking about, because it wasn't read to the record of what they were actually asking. It was, well, just this. And I understand the points, but we want to make sure that the public has all the information they need, all right, to come in here, because I requested the information from Senator Chico's office, never responded with it. Okay, and I did send a message to you, Mark, for it, and I understand public records, you get 10 days to respond, but how good that does happen when I'm coming to a meeting now, and I still don't know what was sent by Senator Chico's office to you guys. No criticism to you, but no matter what, I think the public should have had a right to know what it was. Second thing is, during that meeting, you guys had discussed conditions when you negotiate, which wasn't on the agenda that you guys had talked about, if it was availability for it. With that, I'm making a suggestion for those is that you seek to subdivide the property so there's a little island that protects the well system, all right, and the outside can turn around to be protected by the town. That's one. The other thing is to ensure if any residents within 1 mile of that well system, because it's a public water supply, that they be access to that well system too. If their wells get broken or contaminated or anything, that they have that ability to. The other thing is that, to go with my first one, was a call was made to Brenda about what you guys are going to be discussing. Please. That one, she got a call. The public should have got the rest. We should have got that information too. Okay? That's just my criticism for that. So thank you very much for this time. I appreciate it. Have fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. Bacall.
Yep, Brenda McCall.
Just into the microphone, please.
Brenda McCall from Cranberry Village. I'm basically just here to thank you all for that emergency meeting. I know it's hard to pull together meetings like that last minute, being involved with Cranberry Village. There are times when, things like that come up, you really can't deal with it. So my thing is I wanted to thank you guys for pulling together that meeting and also for having it being able to be viewed, because there's 280 homes in Cranberry Village, And some people do climb onto Facebook and they hear different things. So to be able to let them see what happened, for me to have known what was going on so that I could let the residents know that it was no big conspiracy and there was no, anything happening. This whole process has been kind of emotional for a lot of people over there, town meeting and all of that. So to be able to keep everybody, kind of at bay and let them know and constantly keep them up to date in what's going on is very much appreciated. So for me, for the residents of Cranberry Village, I wanted to personally come and thank you guys, for being able to pull that together. I know, last minute, the state, you got to kind of go where they ask you to go. So for me, for Cranberry Village, I want to thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Fennessy or Shelby, whoever, can someone get Mr. Belbin a copy of the wording for this? Could we ask someone to make a copy?
I'll get mine.
Get him a copy of the wording. No, Bob, hang on one second. We'll get you a copy of the wording.
I have to go to a doctor's appointment.
All right, we'll email it to you.
Thank you.
All right. Could we just, Mr.
Yeah,
Fennessy, could
yeah,
you email
I'll
it to
make
Mr.
sure,
Belbin
yeah.
later on? Thank you. All right. Let's see, and just to follow up, we don't normally respond to citizens' participation, but just to add, I think we owe a thanks to Area 58 for getting here so quickly for Wednesday's meeting as well, because they literally responded within 45 minutes of a phone call, and I think that was important to get that type of meeting, especially on TV. So thank you to them as well. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the Cranberry Village Wells, a vote to ratify the vote that we took on Wednesday concerning amendments to the special act suggested by the legislature. Mr. Fennessy.
Okay, so I'm going to summarize what happened this week
Thank
and
you.
even before. So as you know, and this is really for people out there too to hear, the town proposed Article 8 for annual town meeting. It's a transfer of ownership of Cranberry Village Well to the Residents Association. The Select Board recommended 4-1 in favor, and it passed overwhelmingly at the annual town meeting. Second part of that article was a legislative act that was necessary, and one of the reason that was necessary is to avoid 30B putting together a request for proposals or something else that somebody else may bid and win the rights to that well. So this takes that out by having a special act. Senator Pacheco took the lead on this, went through 3 readings and moved on to the Legislative Legal Counsel. They reviewed it for compliance with the laws specified in the article and compliance with the Massachusetts Constitution. The final part of the legislative end was moving it to the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs as it related to a potable water source and a land with conservation restrictions on it. The Executive Office of Environmental Affairs sent it back to the Senate because of a conflict in the language of the special act that was proposed, which said, and I quote, "In the event of reversion," meaning reversion back to the town, under this section, the parcel shall be held by the town for general municipal purposes. And as it's a potable water source and drinking source for the village, that was in conflict with keeping it in perpetuity as a water source and as a drinking source, which is required by the law. Thus, the Senate struck that section, the second section, but kept the first section basically intact. This week, Senator Pacheco's office contacted me and requested that the board set a meeting to vote that change, because the board would have to do a roll call vote to approve that change of the Senate. Initially, it was set up for today, Friday, at 8:30. However, as the Senate hearings were set, Senator Pacheco's office called again on Wednesday and said that we would need to have an emergency meeting today, that meeting Wednesday, to approve that because it has to be brought into Boston and set in line for the hearings. So on Wednesday, we were able to pull together a select board meeting of 4 members were able to attend, and we discussed all this. And again, I want to reiterate that we contacted Area 58 to be here so that everybody can get a sense of what was discussed and what was needed. And this, like you said, Ms. Bacall, this emergency meeting was pulled together in literally, within an hour of getting it together. So on Wednesday, the four board members met and discussed the issue, and after discussion, it was put to a vote, and it was a 4-0 vote in favor of the amendment as prepared by the Senate. And then it brings us to today. As we had the meeting set up for today anyway, the chair of the select board felt it was important to still hold this meeting so that we can again address the issue and ratify that vote at this meeting so that people will know, what was going on. There's nothing hidden here. It's something that was mandatory by the Senate to move this bill forward.
If that meeting didn't happen.
And I'll just add that if the meeting didn't happen, I was told that it would die in committee. And that is always the risk of these things. So I think the Senate and the House, where it's a short window now before the end of the session, they're trying to get these things through. And that's what led to this last-minute executive, this meeting. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. And I think for the purposes of everyone at home, I think I will read the act.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Mr. Pacheco moves to amend the bill by substituting the following draft. An act authorizing the town of Carver to transfer certain real property, including water wells and pumping station, to the Cranberry Village Residents Association Incorporated for water supply purposes. Be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives in general court assembled and by the authority of the same as follows. Section 1. Notwithstanding Sections 15 and 15A of Chapter 40 of the General Laws and Section 16 of Chapter 30B of the General Laws, but subjects to paragraphs A, B, and G of said Section 16 of said Chapter 30B, the Select Board of the Town of Carver, with the approval of the Department of Environmental Protection as required by the regulations of the Department, may convey all or a portion of the town's interests in certain real property and the water wells, pumping station, and other water infrastructure located thereon to the Cranberry Village Residents Association Incorporated, a nonprofit corporation organized under Chapter 180 of the General Laws. The property to be conveyed is described in a deed to the town recorded in the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds in Book 8929, page 94. Consideration for the conveyance shall be $1 and such other terms and conditions as the Select Board deems to be in the best interests of the town, including, but not limited to, a conservation restriction to be held by the Conservation Commission pursuant to Sections 31 to 33, inclusive of Chapter 184 of the General Laws, requiring that the property be used in perpetuity solely for providing potable water to Cranberry Village, and such other uses as may be incidental or related to the use and protection of the property as a potable water supply. Section 2. This act shall take effect upon its passage. That's the full word. All right. Discussion from the board. Mr. Carver, do you have something to add?
Yes, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, just by way of further background as to what the role of the board is at this point. Town meeting did approve this special act with two provisions in it. One, authorizing the town to convey the property to Cranberry Village, and then a second, requiring that the property revert back to the town should it cease being used for that specific purpose, i.e. Water supply for Cranberry Village. Upon review, the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs determined that that second part of it may have been inconsistent with the first. While I respectfully disagree with that interpretation, the legislature does have the ultimate authority to decide whether or not to approve this bill. And when a special act is submitted to the legislature has limited authority to make changes. But in this instance, when town meeting voted, town meeting specifically authorized that the legislature could make changes within the general scope of the bill, as long as those changes were approved by the select board. So it's my opinion that the removal of that reverting language is still within the scope of the original public objectives of the bill, which was to allow the town to convey the property directly to Cranberry Village without having to go through the procedures in Chapter 30B. It is also my opinion that even without that language in Section 2, the town or the select board has the authority in conveying this property to include as a requirement in the purchase and sale agreement and the deed, a requirement that the property revert back to the town should it be no longer used for water supply purposes. So it is my opinion that this change is something that is within the authority of the select board to grant. For that reason, I would turn it over to you to decide whether you wish to do so.
Thank you. All right. Is there a motion from the board?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the act authorizing the town of Carver to transfer certain real property, including water wells and a pumping station, to the Cranberry Village Residents Association Incorporated for water supply purposes.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I just wanted to add one thing, if I may, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to be clear, and Mr. Corbo can correct me if I'm wrong, but because it does limit the fact that we can convey this under such terms and conditions that include a conservation restriction, that's a good thing, because that keeps it as drinking water in perpetuity.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, that's correct. And so, as we go forward towards the next step, we would prepare a purchase and sale agreement that would have this reverter language, but it would be clear in that language that even when it comes back to the town, the land is still going to be protected for water supply purposes.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, further, if I could, my suggestion would be that the motion here be to ratify the vote that was taken on Wednesday.
Okay.
I don't see that in the packet, but Bob, do you have the letter that was sent to the senator's office that had the language of that vote?
Yeah, Elaine had it. Yeah, you want to see if it's on her desk?
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Let's make sure we do it correctly.
So would you like an amended motion?
Yes, Ms. Hewens.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I move to ratify the vote that the Select Board took on Wednesday, July 20th, 2022, and that vote was to approve the act authorizing the town of Carver to transfer certain real property, including water wells and a pumping station, to the Cranberry Village Residents Association Incorporated for water supply purposes.
As amended by the Senate.
As amended by the Senate. Thank you.
I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the board?
I just have a
Mr.
question, just to
Hoffman.
clarify, and I'm sure some people at home might have some confusion as well. So Article 8, the way it was voted on at town meeting versus what Article 8 will appear as now. So Section 1 has changed to what the suggested verbiage from the senator, correct?
So, Section 1 has only really been reformed. It's the same language in it. What's happened is Section 2 has been struck.
Okay, that was my second one. So Section 2 has been completely eliminated.
Right.
So Section 3 now becomes Section 2.
Correct.
This act shall take effect, okay. I just want to make sure for those people that are trying to follow at home that we know exactly what's going on, so. Because in the
Yeah,
original article, there wasn't a Section 1, correct?
Oh, there was.
No, there was still a Section 1, and the Section 1 now has some wording changes to it, but the
Okay.
effect of it is the same.
Okay. I just didn't see in the copy that I got, I didn't see anything that said Section 1. I just saw Section 2 and Section 3, so I might be missing a page.
Yeah, I think you might be missing a page.
Okay, sorry about that, okay.
It's on the previous page.
Oh, no, I see it. You're absolutely right. Sorry about that.
And Mr. Chair, can this packet be maybe posted on the website, like with the minutes, or,
Absolutely. There's no reason we can't do that, correct, Mr. Fantasy? Post the whole packet?
Yeah, we'll
On the
post
website with
the changes
minutes.
and the
Yeah.
language.
Okay. And just to simplify this to what we're doing to its simplest terms, all we're really doing here is saying that if the property reverts back to the town, instead of reverting for general municipal purposes, it's reverting for water supply, correct?
Well, it actually, it means that it keeps it in perpetuity as
Perpetuity for a water supply.
If we go for a reversion back to the town, again, it'd have to be through the deed that's drafted, would have that language.
Right.
Because they struck the language from this.
Yeah,
Right.
and the difference here is that when we went to town meeting, the way that the original bill was drafted was that there would be a restriction that Cranberry Village would be obligated to only use it for water supply purposes. And if they stopped, then it would automatically come back to the town, and then the town could use it for any purpose it wanted. And so, the Office of Environmental Affairs had some issues with that, and that's fine. And so the change now is that the reverter clause is stricken from the act, but you still retain your authority to include that as a condition of the sale.
Mr. Corbo, are you recommending that I read for the record the letter we sent to the Senate?
Yes, I am, and I would recommend that that be included in the packet as well.
Okay. All right. So this is the letter, July 20, 2022, to whom it may concern. This is to certify that the Carver Select Board at their meeting held on Wednesday, July 20th, 2022 at 12:30 p.m. at the Carver Town Hall in Meeting Room 1, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 20B. There was a quorum present consisting of Chairman Mark Townsend, Vice Chair Sarah Hewins, and members John Cotter and James Hoffman, Cranberry Village Wells. A motion was made by Hewins and seconded by Cotter to approve an act authorizing the town of Carver to transfer certain real property, including water wells and pumping station, to Cranberry Village Residents Association, Incorporated, for water supply purposes with the amendments recommended by the General Court and is set forth below. The roll call vote on the affirmative: Hoffman, Hewins, Townsend, and Cotter. That is the entire letter. All right. So we have a motion and a second. Mr. Cotter.
One question, I would just suggest that for when we post this online to the residents, if we can put out the original article as it was
Yes.
voted on.
Yep, we'll put
right?
that on
And then-
top of it.
And it's
yeah.
hard to look at both pieces to find out what gets changed, so
Yeah.
if we could just, take the original article, do like a red line edit, just take out paragraph 2, move 3 to 2,
Mhm.
and then edit 1, then people see exactly what was in the article and exactly what the changes were.
Yep, okay.
I think that's an
Good
excellent
idea,
idea.
thank you.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Fennessy, do we need a roll call vote on this as well?
I would, since the first one was a roll call vote.
Okay, that's fine. Mr. Hoffman?
James Hoffman says aye.
Sarah Hewen says aye.
Mark Townsend says aye.
John Cotter says aye.
All right. It is unanimous. Thank you. Let's see. Minutes, licenses. Well, is there anything else, Mr. Fennessy, Mr. Corbo, anything else on this particular item?
No, only, Mr. Chair, to confirm that the Wednesday meeting is available on Area 58 TV if anybody wishes to go back and see it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I know it's up now because I've seen it on.
Oh, is it up?
Posted
Okay.
already, so it's available right now if people want to see it. So, all right. Minutes, licenses, topics not reasonably anticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting. I don't have anything. Mr. Fennessy, are you?
No,
aware of
no,
anything?
everything.
All right. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? It is unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Have a good weekend.